Hello, it's Denise from Women Beyond a Certain Age. Our guest today is my dear friend. She's laughing already. I can see her. My dear friend, Chef Debbi Dubbs from Deb's Kitchen. Now, the reason that she's laughing, I'm assuming the reason she's laughing is, Debbi, how long have we known each other?
I was trying to remember. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember when I didn't know you. How's
I
that for you?
know. I know. It was, I met you when I was working at Melissa's. So it was like
Yes.
early 2000 something.
Anyway, Debbi and I have been friends and colleagues for a really long time. I wanted her to come on the podcast today because one, she has just worked on some really interesting projects. But other than that, I think Debbi, like most of the women, and we have a few men, but most of the women that come on Women Beyond a Certain Age have evolutionary careers. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't from one point to another. There's a long and winding road to get where you
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
yours is not unique, meaning that it's been a long, hard, winding road, and yet you've succeeded. Because if I say anything to young women that want to get into food, in the olden days when you were a chef, you opened a restaurant. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you worked in the industry and people knew you. But for women, one, in our age group, there weren't even that many restaurants that were hiring women then.
No
I'm
kidding.
older than you. I'm older than you, so I'm not. But
Not
the
by
other thing,
much.
if women wanted to have children, families, husbands, working in a restaurant's not real conducive, as we can certainly attest to all the chefs we know that are on their second and third wife.
Yeah.
So that's, but what I'd like to start with is telling you this because we're going to record two podcasts with Deb. And the reason is because there's a whole lot of information to cover.
Now I feel really old, Denise.
No, I don't mean it like that. It's not that, Deb. It's just, you know what? I don't mind feeling old when it comes to experience because you could not know what you know without some time passing and doing a whole lot of different things. Do you
Sure,
know what I
sure.
mean?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what, now talk to us about this. How did you get into restaurants to begin with? Deb, how did you start out in food?
Oh my gosh. I was a teenager. I was 15 and I went to work at a place in the mall. I was a bus girl of all things.
I love that.
And I've always been a night person. So it flowed really easily, my lifestyle, into restaurant work.
Got it.
And then just, one thing after another, what restaurant here, restaurant there, cocktail waitress, restaurant manager, chef, tired.
Yeah, well, no, the chain of command.
Yes,
Working,
absolutely.
that's
Yeah,
what you did. And you had your own catering company at some point,
I
didn't
had
you?
two. Yeah, in different times.
And you were a personal chef for a while also?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, what prompted that? Was that to be your own boss?
Yes. All of the catering and the personal chefing was to be able to work on my own time when I wanted, take what jobs I wanted. As a caterer, people used to ask me for my recipes all the time, and I'm thinking, what? Like, I'm going to give you my recipe, so you don't call me and hire me.
I know.
Anyway,
If we someday, and I would love to do this with a big Zoom with about 10 different people I know, and all I want it to be is catering horror stories.
oh
Okay.
God.
Because we all have them. And actually, they're hysterical. Once you get over, when a decade passes, they're
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, exactly.
They're funny after a decade. Now, you brought it up. So I need you to touch base because it flows into so many things that you've done in your career. You were the executive chef at Melissa's Produce Company here in Los Angeles. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was one of the chefs. There were four of us when I went there.
Okay.
And Chef Ida, she was actually the executive chef.
Gotcha. And why Did you take that job and what did you learn?
Well, actually, I applied for that job. I had recently lost my other job at the deli, and I saw an ad for someone to come and do demos for Melissa's part-time in the Gelston supermarkets. That's what I applied for, and it was part-time, and that's exactly what I wanted because I wanted to continue my gardening business. I
Yes.
wanted to build up that end of it. So I interviewed for that and they said, we really like you, but you're overqualified.
Yes.
So he said, I'll put your file up front for when I need another chef. And he called me back 6 months later and they hired me full time. Even though I didn't really want full time, I did it. And Melissa's was difficult because you had to be there at 6 a.m.
Now,
The produce runs early.
oh yeah, if people don't know, and I'm just going to say this, if you don't know Melissa's Produce in Los Angeles is huge. Okay, started out as a small company, is definitely international. And also, if you may not have noticed, but in your grocery store, I don't care where you are, you're looking at a label, it can say Melissa's on it, whether it be raspberries or, kiwi fruit. So there's a whole lot of Melissa's has a lot of tentacles, is what I always think of. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Here in LA, they have a in that city that I can't remember what city they're in, Deb. I know when
Vernon.
Vernon, because we used to
Lovely Vernon.
lovely Vernon. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But land was cheaper than Deb.
Yeah.
But they have a gorgeous, Melissa has been community oriented, which is why they were looking for someone to do demos for them. And also they have a beautiful test kitchen and they have events all the time. Now I don't go anymore because I live too far away. But when I was in LA, I used to love to go to their authors events or their how to teach people about produce.
Right.
And what I think is amazing. And that was one of the reasons Debbie has tons of things to talk about, as you guys will hear. But I said to Debbie, right now, everybody cares about Hatch chilies. Okay.
It's Hatch Chili Month. Yes.
I know. Hatch Chili Month. And Melissa's has written a book on it. And you can always contact them. And our friend, Robert Schuler, who has been in charge of handling so much of Melissa's special events for years. Is that his last name?
Yes. Yeah.
Robert Schuler. He's the nicest man in the world. My mind is going, Debbie. It really is. My mind is going. But anyway, one of the things, so Debbie mentioned it already, and we're going to talk about that more in our next podcast. Debbie has been doing farm to table food for as long as I've known you. Okay.
Always.
So gardening, when you mention gardening, and we'll talk about that, the services that you offer, because people that are listening might be able to refer something to you, who knows. But Deb, if Melissa's hadn't championed Hatch chilies, this is my feeling, would anyone even know about them outside of New Mexico?
No, I don't think so. Because
I don't either.
They're the number one pushers of Hatch chilies because they came from New Mexico or Texas, somewhere around there.
And people, and what happens this month, and they're all, I keep seeing it. I like them, Deb, but I have never gone out and bought 50 pounds and roasted them and put them in my
know. It amazes me. People buy them a couple of cases at a time.
People are obsessed with it. Well, here's my question. Why to you? I don't know why. They taste good, but why is it? Do you have is it just a cult thing? Is it that Melissa's has done such a good job? What is it?
Well, the flavor is different than most peppers. They're smokier, they're a little deeper in flavor, and I think that's what they like about them. And the grocery store, so Bristol Farms and Gelson's mostly, they have all kinds of products food products that you can buy either fresh or frozen or from their deli that have hatch chilies in them. So you get to taste them that way, and then you get hooked on the hatch chili.
Get it. Okay. That makes perfect sense. And it was, when you say Gelson's and Bristol Farms, if people, again, from out of Southern California, those are the high-end markets here. You know what I
Right.
mean? Those are higher end markets. There's no doubt about it. I love to shop in both of them, but it's not your average Rouse. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? That's what it comes down to. Okay.
Right.
So that's what, when you describe the flavors, that gives me some insight. All I know is people actually say to me things like, Denise, did you get some hatch chilies and you're gonna roast them? And I think to myself, huh? I mean, I cook, Deb, every day still from when I've retired. Do you know what I mean? Because now I'm not cooking for a client or doing a
Right.
restaurant. I'm cooking dinner for me and Kenny. And some of them are involved, and some of them I start in the morning in a crock pot, and some of them are a hamburger with some blue cheese on it. Do you know what I mean? And a brioche bun that I bought. I mean, I'm talking about a 12-minute dinner because I'm tired for doing nothing.
I'm tired of cooking for 50 years.
Okay. Now, I will say this. I still enjoy it for the two of us, but I have to tell you something, Deb. Sometimes after 45 years, I don't want to have a dinner party anymore. We meet at Lure in Camarillo. We go to Malibu and meet our friends at Joffrey. I don't want to cook dinner parties anymore.
Right.
I mean, I will, but I'm just perfectly happy to go to a restaurant.
I'm with you.
Okay. Now, but speaking of that, because you have taught cooking classes for so long, and this is my thing about teaching cooking classes. Yep, I started teaching cooking classes just as an extension of my career. Do you know what I mean? One more thing that could produce some income.
Right.
But what I really found by doing it was I learned more about cooking and food by teaching, because you would get that one question from someone. Do you know what I mean? That you'd think, oh my God, I never thought. When you heard other people's questions, it made me go deeper into subject matter.
Right. I love to do research. That's one of my big things is research on anything and everything. And if you give me a question like that or a project, I will research it to its death. I swear to God, I lock myself in my office and that started way before we had computers. So it was a lot of book learning.
See, this is before computers. People don't understand. I remember recently, one of the last classes that I went to somewhere, and a question came up, and the young woman that was teaching said, oh yeah, well, I found it all on the internet. And the rest of it, the old crones in the back kind of went, huh? Because you used to actually go to libraries or go to, know, old cookbooks. I still do. Some of my cookbooks, Deb, which, by the way, and I know you have the same thing, I go to them, and then if I go on the internet, the information from that old cookbook is, I can trust it. I can't trust the information on the internet.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're teaching classes and you decide to publish your own cookbook.
Well, I was teaching at Williams Sonoma mostly, and that was after I worked all day at Melissa's.
Yeah.
And everybody liked the quick tips that I gave them, and wanted me to write a book. So What's in Your Pantry came about from that. And it's actually, it's just like my cheese book. It's not a picture book. It's just a guidebook to help you. And the What's in Your Pantry was published in 2009. So that was before our food was global.
Yes.
So it's very basic and very simple, and I'm working on a new edition of it.
Wonderful.
With a little help from my friends.
Good. Honey, I remember when you did that. It was wonderful. And that book has sold well. And where can people get it if they want to buy one now?
You can get it from my website, which is debskitchen.com.
Okay.
Anything I do is on my website.
Excellent. Excellent. From that, Deb, because this is where, what other cookbooks have you worked on for your clients?
Mostly I've done spaghettini books, spaghettini restaurant, which is a uh,
Institution?
yeah, it's a high-end Southern Italian, but 30, I think it was 35 years ago, they incorporated jazz music, and it has grown since then. So they have music almost every single night. They remodeled and did a theater in their lounge, and you can buy tickets to go and have dinner and watch the show. And there's people like Dave Cause they've gotten
Wow.
involved with. The Wave does the Sunday brunch there every week. Um, Pancho Sanchez plays there all the time. So we've worked on two books together, and our latest one is Spaghettini at Home, and it's a really unique book. You can't even call it a cookbook. They are each chapter is one particular musician, and they've chosen their favorite appetizers, cocktails, dinners, and then there's a QR code on the bottom of the page, so you can get the link from the QR code and download their music, so that if you want to have a dinner party at home, hence spaghettini at home, you bring spaghettini into your home, you play the same kind of music that they're playing, and you make the recipes from that artist's favorite menu.
That's very clever and very fun.
It really is. It's a really beautiful, beautiful book as well.
When they approached you, Deb, because I know you've worked for them on two, can you tell us what services did you do for them?
Well, I started with them when they opened a gourmet deli in Long Beach in 1999. We were way ahead of our time.
I was just say that.
Oh, yeah. We had food to go. What were they called? Hot, ready meals or something like that. And we had high-end olive oils and vinegars and specialty food products. So I was there. I started off as the kitchen manager and worked into executive chef and then general manager.
Gotcha.
And the thing that killed us was 9/11. It killed a lot of people.
Oh, of course.
So, after that, we just kind of stayed in touch. I did little things for them here and there. Some catering, I would do on-site cooking for the restaurant. And we were friends over the years, and it's been, I don't know, 25 years, something like that.
Again, and this is a testament. I always say this, Deb, and to people, if we get young women that listen to us, I'm always amazed when Cindy gives me the chart of the age groups. There are young women listening to us, and I think, why? And then I realize, because there is wisdom in surviving 30 years or 40 years or 50 years in your career choice. And when you say that, Deb, I say this to young people all the time, and you're proof of it. Melissa's, Spaghettini, the customers, your clients, you keep changing jobs with them, but they keep hiring you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a huge expanse. So once in a while, I have young women that work at certain things. They don't want to work there anymore. Let's say it's a big publishing company. They hate it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
They're working death, and they call me and they hate it. And I say to them, whatever you do, leave that place on the best terms that you can. Don't go in and light your boss's desk on fire.
That's the biggest thing that I learned over all of the years is don't burn your bridges.
Thank you. So, and they go, why? I go, because that boss can be your company that you're working for, even though they're difficult. That can turn into be, as you freelance or move on to own your own company, to run your own ship, they could be your first client.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Because you've already built the trust, they already respect you. They know they already like you. They already know I always say to people, I had a call recently, Deb, and this was This man called me for a TV show. I've been working for him for 20 years, okay, but a very successful producer in LA. Now, I'm not going to take the show, and I don't know if it, now this writer's strike has happened because it's too much work. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But the thing that was amazing about it is he could remember, this is 20 years ago. This guy, I don't know how many shows he's done since then. 100? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could remember instances that went wrong on the set and that I solved the problem. And as he was saying it to me, I thought, wow, you know what I mean? And he doesn't usually do food shows. So in my mind, I thought to myself, well, that was a good relationship. You know what I mean? Even though when he first called me, I want you to know I was cringing. And he like said to me, let's FaceTime. And I said, oh no, I don't want you to see my face. You know what I mean? But the idea was, yes, that's what you're working for with any client is long term, because loyalty, even though I think loyalty has become less important because of social media. Do you know what I mean? Because
yes.
social media, meaning the corporations and companies are just looking for more likes. But in reality, I see all that swing back a little bit because the results have to be there. Do you know what I mean? And I've had clients call me and just say, you know, that campaign didn't go very well. And of course, I don't say to them, well, I could have told you that. I say, you mean that child that you hired that knew absolutely nothing about her? Really? But I digress, Deb. I'm sounding like the bitter old crone that I am. But I think your career is proof positive of the long run. And that's really important. You know, I mean, some of the times when people ask me about their careers now, I say to them, can you see, are you motivated enough to do this for the next 30 years, even if you don't make a lot of money or just enough money? Or some years you make a lot of money, some years you don't. And when it's real quiet on the other end, I think, okay, well, that's the question you have to ask yourself.
Right.
Okay?
I don't think that the younger people think that way today, though.
I don't know why, but I agree with you. It's just, but I'll tell you, in business, they're still hitting the long goal. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
right.
corporate can't make quick changes. They can't. We're proof positive of that. Now, we're gonna this was the other thing I wanted to ask you, Deb. How did you learn so much about gardening?
Just, you know, I started as working with my grandmother in the garden when I was a child. And she's the one who got me into cooking as well. And I had the opportunity. So I always had we're in a condo, so I always had pots of flowers and herbs and stuff like that on my porch. But many years ago, I think I've had my garden now for 30 years. There was an ad in the paper for community gardens, and they were like $20 a year back then. And all they did was give you the land and the water. And so I got one garden, and then I got the one next to that a couple of years later. So I have a huge vegetable and now cut flower garden. I'm growing cut flowers for the first time.
And is that in Seal Beach? Is that close to where you live?
It's 5 minutes from my house. Yeah, so it's great. And it's, you know what, you get out there with all the plants, and it's just oxygen to your brain, you know.
Now, do other people help you do you have neighbors or people in the garden?
Some of my friends, a couple of my friends come over once in a while, but mostly it's just me, and I take Frank with me when I need some muscle.
I can't believe it. That's amazing to me. And do you eat all the vegetables? Can you give the vegetables away? Do you sell
I do. I give them to all my neighbors. Like this year, for some particular reason, I am having a bumper crop of tomatoes. They were late ripening, but you know, every time I go over there, I pick, I don't know, 3 gallons, 4 gallons. And so I've been freezing them. I give them to my neighbors. At least tomatoes, people don't go running from you. But when you grow zucchini, that's a different story.
Okay.
Then they don't answer the door and you just leave these zucchinis on the doorstep.
Now, I have to tell you the reason you say that. Cindy, when she was still when she was living in LA with her roommate Ed, they put in beautiful beds like you have talked to me about with the garden. And they were beautiful. And Cindy did all the work. And they got very nice vegetables, some very nice vegetables. I have never put it, and people would come from when I was working Home and Garden TV, they would come to my house in LA and they'd say, God, this is a big yard. We should be doing and they were going to pay for it. Okay. A raised vegetable garden and stuff, and come back. So they would film it at different things. I said, I don't think two people, we eat green beans and asparagus like every night, Deb. I'm not kidding. And a salad the nights we don't eat that, because those are the vegetables my husband likes. Okay. He lived in a cult commune when he was a young man. His job was to raise zucchini. Okay? Now, so what you're saying is this: Kenny wouldn't eat zucchini if he was in jail for 20 days with only water.
Right.
I love zucchini. I'm Italian. I grew up on zucchini. My mother stuffed zucchini. We sauteed zucchini. But I've given up. He'll eat a little broccoli. I only cook vegetables that he's going to eat, because otherwise I'm wasting them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I know what you mean. People see zucchinis and they're prejudiced against zucchinis.
Oh, now, yeah.
Penny said to me, I would like to grow tomatoes one year. I said, okay. We had the shaded area in my old house and stuff. So I bought several small ones, just small, but we were just concentrating on tomatoes. I need you to know something. I think I spent, I don't know, $200, $300. We got one tomato, Deb, and it was the saddest little tomato I've ever seen. And after that, I gave up my gardening. Okay, so that is not my legacy. I can grow orchids and succulents. That's what I'm good at, but no. So I absolutely, I can't believe you run those big gardens all by yourself and take Frank if you need it, but that you have all those vegetables. That's fantastic.
Well, I've added cut flowers this year because I use the vegetables also in the cooking classes or in my caterings. So all the vegetables really went to good use.
Yes.
But now it's just the two of us, and I don't do that kind of work anymore. So I have, an abundance of vegetables, and I started growing flowers. Well, I actually started growing some flowers from my botanicals a few years back, and just pretty flowers like cosmos to cut and bring home and put in a vase. And then I got into dahlias. And from there, I'm into ranunculus and all different kinds of cut flowers.
How gorgeous.
Cut flowers are huge right now.
Yeah. How gorgeous.
All the rage.
All the rage.
Yeah.
Well, Debbie, I have to tell you, I cannot thank you enough for your time today. We are going to call you again and do podcast number 2, because I want to talk about the other things that you have done that I know will be of interest to people. I want to thank you for everything today, for your time. We're going to pick back up and do podcast number 2. I know how valuable your time is, and it was really gracious of you to do this today. If people want to contact Chef Debbie, as people that follow us know, you go to our Woman Beyond a Certain Age Facebook page. Cindy will put up information about Debbie, pictures of Debbie, her website, so you can contact her. And that's it. If you want to contact Cindy or me, not sure. If you want to contact either of us, it is womenbeyond@icloud.com. And we love to hear from people. It's very interesting, the messages we get. It's interesting. There's all sorts of people listening to all sorts of things. And sometimes people say that was the best podcast you ever did. And Cindy and I look at each other and go, really? Or sometimes they'll say, you didn't say enough about her website. And I feel like saying, well, all right then. Take me to task.
People can be critical, can they not?
Oh my God. You know what? This is my feeling. It's free.
Yeah, exactly.
Deb, thank you so much. As always, thanks Cindy for keeping the train on the tracks, because she really does. Without her, it would not happen. And Deb, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Well, thanks to both of you. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.